Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is 9 o'clock on Friday, and you are listening to me, Deb Burton, the host of Friday Friends and executive director of RI Elder Info. As you know, RI Elder Info maintains the most comprehensive resources for seniors, caregivers, and professionals. And we have a special spot in our heart for our veterans who are often one of those three or multiple of those three. And so all of our Fridays in the month of November are dedicated to different resources for veterans and their families to help them get connected. And that's in recognition of Veterans Day, as a big shout out and thank you to the service and sacrifice that the men and women who have served our country so deserve. So thank you all for joining me today. Make sure you hit the like button and the share button to help us reach as many people as possible. And we certainly could not do this work without the support of our sponsors. So a huge thank you to Point 32 Health Foundation and to United Healthcare, Oak Street Health, England Studio, 321 Media, all of our individual generous donors and sponsors. We really could not bring this programming to you without their support. So a huge thank you. So today I am talking to an old friend of mine. I'd like to welcome Ty Smith from Operation Stand Down of Rhode Island. Hey, Ty.
Hi, Deb. How are you? Thanks for
Good,
having
very
me on
good.
today.
No, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it because I know you guys have a lot going on. And it's been a minute since we last spoke on Friday Friends. So can you share with everybody what is Operation Stand Down up to these days?
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you that, the mission really hasn't changed. The goal is to provide for veterans and families, those who really need help, whether that's employment, housing, legal assistance, maybe it's basic needs, food, clothing, whatever it may be, we're really here for that. We've been around for 30 years. And as you suggest, we've changed since then. 30 years ago, it was Rhode Island's first permanent housing for veterans with 6 apartments. And now we have 88 units of housing, and our programs have grown so much. They started off with a small staff of, just a handful of folks who returned from their service and realized they wanted to continue to serve and continue that honor and that tradition of serving those who served with you, serving your brothers and sisters. We're now at 30 plus. We're growing. Our legal department has gotten bigger, as well as our programs for SSVF, which is really the rental assistance and the employment portion as well. There's a need. And, as we all know, because of COVID, those needs don't go away, especially after COVID and during COVID. We see that, many of those needs get exacerbated or kind of highlighted during those moments. And we're kind of here to assist and catch it all as it comes in. So long way of saying it's been a long time since I've been on this show, like maybe 2 years or so, but we're growing. And there's a lot of new things I'm looking forward to telling you about.
Absolutely. And to think that it started, I think you said, with 6 and now it's up to 88. It's awesome that Operation Stand Down is there to be able to provide that kind of support to folks. It's kind of sad that we don't have stable and permanent housing for all of those men and women who serve. So it sounds like it's a big lift. So how does Operation Stand Down do it? How are you supporting people? Is it housing?
Yeah.
Is it the job training? How does it work? If somebody's out there and they know a veteran, maybe that veteran is living in the woods in a camper. how do they find you?
So the best way to find us, you can call directly. We're here Monday through Friday. The number is 383-4730. That's the best way to get in contact with somebody here. You can also go, we have quite a few folks out here and people that you and I have discussed that are kind of caretakers and assisting vets. You can go through our website or you can call for that just to kind of ask questions and gauge where we should start with that individual. So how do we go about taking care of folks? I think once we get them in the door or they call, I think it's important for us to understand the need and more appropriate if I say needs, because the clients that we see, they don't have one issue or two issues rarely. They have several things we need to work on. So what you said, housing's first, but they're not all housing issues. Sometimes it's an employment issue. Sometimes it's not just that somebody needs a new job, but they're unhappy with their current one and they need a little bit of assistance to push them in the right direction towards something else, moment of growth. And sometimes it's legal assistance, like I mentioned before, but most of the time we're triaging folks and we're trying to identify all the different issues that they have and who can help in-house and who can help outside, which often happens. And that those are some of the conversations that you and I have is, with some of our elderly veterans, there's a certain point in time in which OSDRI, needs a little bit of help from organizations like yourself, Rhode Island Elderly Info. So that's really important, I think, is being able to have a veteran come in, triage that situation, kind of identify and highlight some of the needs. And then the team works here together to see, all right, who else needs to be a part of this equation? And then we go forth, and then getting really creative with some of the grants that we operate and trying to see what we have in our inventory of housing that may be a fit. And like you mentioned, yes, it's a shame that there should be 88 units of housing, permanent, transitional, whatever it may be, compared to 30 years ago. But I think that's where you and I and many other folks like us jump on these boards and get engaged with communities and start advocating for the clients that we represent.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's many hands make the load light. When somebody is aware of a veteran in need, or maybe they self-identify, if an individual is unhoused or maybe on the move, it sometimes is hard to maintain keeping your paperwork. So do they have to have their DD-214 when they come in, or can you look that up and find the things that they may be eligible for and help them navigate that system?
So yes and no, there's lots of resources that we can use to find a DD-214. Many of our grants require us to prove service. So sometimes, whether that's an ID card from the VA, we will go to the Rhode Island Office of Veterans Affairs and see if we can pull a DD-214 there. We have a system that we have access to that we may be able to provide that proof of service, which is actually what a DD-214 is. It's proof that somebody served in the military. But there's a variety of resources. One of our greater partners is the VA. We have office hours there. We have grants that tie us together. And so we use the VA. We use what's called Squares. And Squares just basically gives us the thumbs up, that, hey, look, they're eligible. And then we can go off of that. It doesn't have all the details sometimes you want on it. A DD-214 is, a lot more detailed. But Squares will say you can pass go, collect your 200, and then we can carry on until we get that DD-214. That veteran is going to need their service record at some point in time. So, being able to be flexible and walk while we're chewing gum, that's important. Nobody's going to get into housing if we can't do that and if we can't think outside of the box.
And it is part of that collaboration with the multiple different agencies, I think, that really benefits the veterans and their families, that Operation Stand Down is able to really make those connections. So that person's not like, okay, but do I have to go here? Do I have to go there? Like Operation Stand Down can help. And I would imagine that it is something also that you can weed out people who are maybe fraudulently claiming valor that they never did serve. So you have the ability to make sure that you're serving the veterans themselves. So that's
You
really
can,
good.
and you take it one step further, and we have 30 plus on staff. Our case managers are veterans. Our case managers are combat vets who have deployed and come back home and know what it's like to transition. So, they could usually tell, but they also know, more importantly, they're empathetic because they've been through it before, but also what are the avenues to go through, and if we can acquire such document. There's not many showstoppers. The showstopper is usually black and white, and we're obligated by grants and certain things that just require us, look, we can serve an individual or not. And even if the answer is no, we're going to figure out a way to do it some other way.
Right. Get them connected with your different partners in the community. And that's a lot of times what many people need. Because like you said, folks aren't knocking on the door with just one concern. It's usually a whole ball of thread that has to be unwound. And
right.
With
you need to be able to communicate too.
Absolutely.
Like,
and it's different. It's different when you've served versus you're not. And I'm a civilian, always been a civilian. So it's a different
I don't think I've ever given you a call and you haven't picked up.
Nope.
So being able to call somebody and have them pick up, and you're like, hey, listen, here's the scenario. I need your advice. I need your guidance. And it goes both ways. And I'm sure you have other providers too that you appreciate somebody picking up. I think the frustrating thing is when you send somebody in a direction, maybe you can't provide that one thing, and they go in a certain direction and nobody's picking up, or they're waiting days. And, the clients that we deal with, they don't have time. They don't have time on their side. They need it now. And they need answers now, or at least some sort of direction. And, when we can't give somebody direction, to be honest with you, that's really upsetting. And it's unacceptable. So having partners like yourself out there who we can call and, hey, Ty, what's going on? How can I help? And we're able to operate and kind of fix things way quicker, than calling some hotline and waiting for somebody to get back to you in a couple of days.
Yes, indeed. It is that collaboration that makes things different. So with all the work that you guys do you need volunteers? Do you need support? Do you have things that people who are watching who maybe they're not impacted by housing issues, but they want to make sure that they can make a difference in a veteran's life? How can they help support you? Do you need volunteers? Do you need donors? Do you have events? How can they help?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go on a little bit of a deep dive here, if you don't mind. I think the number one thing you do is pay attention and be responsible, a responsible American, and just kind of understanding what we're asking our young men and women to do. Especially as, conflicts break out and we decide to send people or put people in predicaments in which we're going to see the repercussions of it for decades. I mean, we're talking about Vietnam vets. We're talking about OIF, OND, Operation Enduring Freedom, Iraq and Afghanistan vets. These are things that we still have to deal with today. The budget for our healthcare systems, VA, housing, whatever it may be. A lot of this stuff, comes from deploying a lot of folks in a hazardous area for a long period of time and losing many of them and kind of having to deal with the resources or the loss of resources. So I would say, the number one thing people can do is to pay attention and to understand where their vote is going for, and to step up and speak, make their voice count. The second thing I would say is, you opened your show talking about your generous donors. Operation Stand Down doesn't exist without donors. The country as we know it today doesn't exist without people willing to volunteer and raise their hand. And I would say the same goes for donors. How do people get involved? Donate any way you can. This time of year, a popular way to donate is food. We'll have a toy drive. We give out turkeys come Thanksgiving. We do have a food pantry on site. Gift cards or food, anything you can do to donate supports this organization. It does take a community, and it's taken a community to get this operation going. We have partnerships from Home Depot to Cardi's, endless partnerships that have continued to make this work. I always think of, and I think I mentioned her last time I was on your show, but Sheila Manning, we call her the bread lady. Sheila Manning would go around to Shaw's and Stop and Shop and collect all the bread that was still good, but it was on the shelves and it's discounted. So she would get all the bread and bring it here, and veterans came to know her as the bread lady. And she would come on Wednesdays, and vets would show up because we don't keep bread. If not for Sheila Manning, bread goes bad quickly. So it's not a good thing to have in the food pantry. If not for Sheila Manning, vets aren't showing up asking for that bread. But Sheila meant the world to us, just as much as, an organization like Home Depot. So any way you can donate, any ideas you have, anybody out there who's listening to this who wants to volunteer, there's always ways to get engaged. You can just call us 401-383-4730.
Awesome. And do you have any big events coming up?
We do. So we have we have Boots on the Ground for Heroes Memorial. We usually have it once a year. That's in Fort Adams, Memorial Day weekend. We're going to have that next Memorial Day weekend. But the craft organization reached out and said, hey, what do you think about, as a part of the NFL Salute to Service, bringing those boots to Gillette Stadium? How about putting them on the football field? 7,026 boots. Those who, paid the ultimate sacrifice since 9/11, since the conflicts, 9/11. Put those on the football field. They have a home game in Germany, so it's actually away, but it's considered home. So they'll be playing football in Germany that weekend, and we can do some cutaways to those boots as a part to NFL Salute to Service. Raise awareness. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about. Never forgetting and always kind of understanding what we're asking folks to do, young men and women who serve every day. So we'll be out there to set that up. That'll be the 10th through the 12th. There's an opening ceremony on the 10th at 11 o'clock involving Gold Star families and the craft organization. And then at that point in time, it's free and it's open to public. No food or drink, but you can come straight to Gillette Stadium. They'll give you a wristband. You can come on the field. If you're a Pats fan, how unique is that? To walk that field and remember the fallen. So we have that coming up, and that's going to be huge. A lot of our time is donated to that right now.
Absolutely. And I have been to Boots on the Ground when it was in Roger Williams Park. I've been there when it's in Newport at Fort Adams, and it is very powerful to see all of the boots stretched out and know that it was someone's life that those boots represent. And it is amazing to see how many. One of the things I have noticed, and I wasn't really clear on when I've seen it, is people leave different symbols of remembering the person who is represented by those boots. What do those different mementos mean?
So it depends. So a lot of people leave coinage. So if they're leaving coins, a nickel, a dime, a quarter, the higher the denomination is how close you knew that person. So generally what a quarter means is I was with that individual when they were killed in action. So that's one way. I think the penny is more along the lines of an acknowledgement. The nickel is I served with this person. So it goes forward like that until you get to the quarter. That's the highest amount. What I find really interesting is how people interact with the memorial, and how powerful it can be as a whole, because if you deconstruct it, it's boots. These aren't boots that the individuals wore. You have the shoelaces, you have plastic and paper representing, those individuals on the boots, and you have flags. But once you put all these materials together in one place, people tend to come together, and they do. They engage with it different ways. I have a rock here. Let's see.
Protector.
Yeah. So somebody left that at the boots, and I just thought it was, I was attracted to it. So, a lot of the times the things that get left behind, we have to get rid of, whether they're flowers or whatever, but I grabbed that because I like it. So people engage it. They leave things right on the boots. They drop, won't be able to do that at Gillette. You could do that at Fort Adams. But that's what those things mean. So,
wow.
And really up to the individuals on how they engage with the boot. There's no recipe to it. It's kind of like if you've been to any memorial before and just kind of see how people interact with it, but it's pretty powerful.
It is very powerful. And I encourage everybody to check it out, whether they come to Gillette, which would be awesome because that's, right now, or if they come in the spring. It's one of those things that you don't forget because it represents lives lost. And it is an emphasis on the life and the life that the person has lived and the service that they gave. And it's powerful and positive. It's very reflective. So Boots on the Ground is always an amazing opportunity to go check out. And do you still need volunteers for that?
No. So we've put out a link for the volunteers. You can go to our website, osgri.org, if you're interested in volunteer. We have 2 shifts. So we have a setup shift, which is on the 9th. We're setting up on the 9th, and then we're tearing it down or breaking it down on that following Sunday. So you can go to our website. There's a link to it. It's front and center. And if you can't find it or navigate that, you feel free to call in, and we'll point you in the right direction. You can ask for Caitlin Brochu if you want to volunteer.
That's
if you want to volunteer for anything, you can call and you can ask for Caitlin Brochu. And if she's not in, you can ask for myself.
That's awesome. And thank you to the Kraft family and the Patriots for doing this. That's awesome.
Absolutely. It's an amazing opportunity, and we're really looking forward to it. We really are. Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
I do want to bring up, there's a housing supply shortage of female housing in the state of Rhode Island.
Yes.
We have the only female housing, transitional female housing for female veterans in the state of Rhode Island. That stands at 6. Our plan is November 27. We're going to have an opening ceremony for 10 additional beds in Woonsocket, and some at-need female veterans into that location. It's been basically refurnished, rehabbed. It looks beautiful on the inside. It was nice before, but we're very thankful for Sheldon Whitehouse and his office for kind of helping us out with some congressional funding to do some flooring and some paint and some furniture. We were just there today with the contractor talking about some last minute things going on. But so we had that opening, and that's important. I don't think that gets talked about enough. 6 is not enough. You know, we have 88 total units, and 6 of them go to female vets. So we're really trying to fix that, and we're on our way.
Yeah, our women warriors need our support as well. Absolutely. And that in that housing, is that an opportunity if they have families with them or children? Are those an opportunity in that housing as well?
Yes. So that'll be 16 total units for female vets, 6 of which we can utilize for families. And that's through a partnership through the VA. I had mentioned earlier how we have great partners, and one of them being the VA. But that's a partnership through them. And so we're able to do that through funding provided through the VA. So yes, we have an extension of 6 family housing units as well. We can use them on single females also, depending on the need and who needs it first.
That is awesome. That is so awesome. And, you know, I would imagine if there's any landlords out there that have apartments available to give you a call as well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. We get that a lot.
Oh, Ty, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Everyone, our veterans deserve housing. They deserve support. And if there is something that you can do watching today and you can support Operation Stand Down, I really do encourage you to reach out to Ty. He does answer the phone, and he is one of those folks that I know that I can reach out to, as he knows that he can reach out to me, and we answer the phone. Doesn't matter day or time. We'll help each other always. Many hands make the load light, right? And so go to Gillette, check out Boots on the Ground, check out the ribbon cutting for the women's housing. They're an amazing organization who are doing some really important work for and with our veterans. So I encourage you to support them. I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me here today. I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, be well and be kind.
If you liked this video, please follow us on social media and subscribe on YouTube. For more information, visit rielderinfo.com or call 401-585-0509. If you have any questions, email deb@rielderinfo.com.